Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Our weekly segment with Baylor Director of Athletics, Mack Rhoades, is brought to you by Edward Jones Investments Brokers, Tom Albers, Brad Wilson, Ben Erlinson, and Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Most every Tuesday at this time, Baylor Director of Athletics, Mack Rhoades, with us, Paul, Catalina, Craig, and David Smoak, and he joins us again today on 365 Sports as well. Mack, thank you for your time. We had you last Wednesday. Got a lot on your plate, obviously. You mentioned at the end of the segment a week ago how much you feel good about where everything is when it comes to the Big 12, and I asked you if you could ever see the Big 12 teams being out of any kind of big boy national championship. Where are you now when it comes to after what you've learned or what new information you have on where the Big 12 is?
Yeah, I don't think it's changed. I mean, I think I'm still, very, very optimistic, if not even more optimistic than a week ago about, the Big 12 conference, the future of it, and, quite frankly, Baylor Athletics. And I think both are in a really, really good position. And, if, once all the dust settles and the smoke clears, if there's no change in terms of the Big 12 conference, and, we remain at 12 once Oklahoma and Texas leave each other, I think we're going to be in a really, really great place, and we're going to be very, very strong and very, very viable. To quote our new commissioner, we're still open for business, and I think like probably every conference, particularly every FBS conference right now, I don't think we're much different than anybody else in terms of running every ground ball out and making sure that we can be as strong as we can possibly be. And the Big 12 is still in that process.
How do you feel? I know Kevin Warren today spoke that playoff expansion is still on the table. There are a lot of different things coming out of the SEC, but do you feel good about playoff expansion still happening when the contract is up in 2026?
I do. I really do. I think, I'm not going to say all, but I think most, think it's where we need to move, where we need to head. There's some momentum, as you all know. There's at least maybe not momentum, but there's some additional chatter about 16 teams, doing something maybe similar to what the FCS does. But whether that's 8, 12, 16, I think we get there. As a reminder, there was a lot of work and certainly compromise, that went into the proposed 12-team model that obviously was taken off the table this past February. But I don't know that means that we can't go back to that model and or again vet out some additional models. And sometimes it's all about timing, and if I recollect correctly, a lot of transition in terms of commissioners at that time. And when you think about the Pac-12 and the Big Ten and the ACC, and so maybe the timing just wasn't right for that new model and ideas given that change. And now obviously one other additional change. So I think it's going to be a great opportunity for people to come together and have some really thoughtful and productive conversation. But I absolutely fully expect for us to get to a place where we expand and open it up to more teams.
Mac, can you imagine if the Big 12 was going through TV negotiations right now with just all of the shifting pieces? I know you mentioned last week that everybody's kind of waiting to see what Notre Dame's going to do, but, I mean, there's no real timetable on that. But do you see negotiating in a couple years as a great timing and sort of an advantage, or would you rather have the conference be at the table right now while all of this is going on?
Yeah, Craig, I think that's a really insightful question. I think, look, we're all waiting. When I say we, I think the industry, certainly the different conferences, the next hurdle is the Big Ten and finalizing their TV negotiation, and what does that entail? Who does it entail? Obviously we know it's Fox, but what other linear partners? Is there a dedicated digital partner? And I think that probably needs to happen, or not probably. It absolutely has to happen first. Obviously Notre Dame and what they end up doing, and if they end up deciding to remain independent, I'm certain that I don't think they decide to do that without having conversations with their TV partner, NBC. And so I think there's some fluidity there, and those things have to land, particularly as I opened up with the Big Ten. And then I think from there that then maybe provide some clarity or some different pathways for the Pac-12, and that's been announced that they're in this 30-day window with their two current partners. And then we the Big 12 will have our opportunity and a bite of the apple, and again expires in 2025, and I think there's a lot that remains to play out, whether or not it ends up going to the open market, and or there's conversations in advance, and I'm certainly not telling you anything one way or the other, but I think those are the possibilities and the opportunities. And so Craig, depending, it's a really hard question to answer, and I think depending about how some things play out, it could be or not be a disadvantage, whether or not we've got to wait a few more years while and follow the Big Ten and follow the Pac-12. Again, I'll double down and just say that I do think the Big 12's in a really, really good spot, and if we're not negotiating or beginning negotiations a year prior to or not negotiating until a year prior to the contract, terminating with both of our TV partners, I still think we'll be in a really, really good place.
Last, the Big 12 Media Days, Bob Bowlesby said each team received $42.6 million distribution, which was a record. Texas and Oklahoma at some point are leaving, whenever it might be. Can you say it's realistic the Big 12 teams each will be able to still hang around that number? Do you expect a decline? If it depends on what you do, of course, if anyone else is added. What do you feel like you need to be at if, in fact, when the annual distribution is set in stone?
Well, I mean, I'd like to be at 100 million, but given everything that's going on in our industry, it's and again, not trying to skip around, but it's a hard question to answer. Let me try to tackle it this way. I think, one, I am really optimistic that we will be same level in terms of last year of the Big 12 contract or better. I do believe that, and that's with 12 members rather than 10 members. I think we've got 12 really great institutions. I think we matter in the intercollegiate athletic space. I think our football is really good, and I think with some potential additional linear partners wanting to get into the space and some new digital partners, I think we're going to be in a really good shape. Now, you don't know what that number is going to be until you get into the market. So really hard to predict what that number will be, but I think it's going to be healthy, and I think it's certainly going to be something that all 12 of us feel good about, and I think right now it's all public that we sit probably solidly in that third spot in terms of revenue distribution per institution, and I think we'll remain there, and hopefully nipping on the heels of two other conferences.
Mack, when you look at expanding, you did the 4 new teams that are coming in next year, but when you look at any other additional expansion as a Big 12, do you look at who you expand with, that they have to at least be able to get to that same number, whether it's 42-6 or 45 or 60, whatever? Do they have to bring that in themselves to make it worthwhile so you don't lose annual distribution?
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's a value assessment, and, that value assessment is probably, it's certainly, what and how we the Big 12 values, maybe a potential school, and just like we went through that process, a year ago with the 4 new schools. But yeah, you look at that, and you obviously have consultants involved, people that have great expertise, and they're looking at it through the lens of your potential TV partner or partners. Again, both linear and digital. And so, this idea of value added, and can you remain whole? Can you even increase? And you look over the course of time over the last TV negotiations for all of these different entities, whether it's conferences, whether it's pro leagues, all sorts of pro leagues, those values continue to go up, and we, even with the loss of UT and Oklahoma, we expect ours to do the same and follow that trend. So I think what's interesting in some of this is, where's the tipping point? And I'm just talking out loud now. Where's the tipping point where you balance strength and strength in numbers, meaning number of schools in your conference versus max revenue distribution per institution, and where's that tipping balance? Given what's just transpired, and now that you've got 2 conferences at 16, man, if you were to remain at 10, you feel, I don't know, I would certainly feel vulnerable, and I feel much better at 12. Do we feel much better at 14 or 16? And again, where's that tipping point in terms of revenue per distribution? And I think, look, that's the conversation, every conference has had or is having.
Mack, how much is this stuff put to the side? I mean, granted, you guys also had to just hire a new commissioner who's been on the job for a couple of weeks and has really had to hit the ground running, but like schedule, like we don't know what the schedule is in 2023. And usually you would have that pretty well locked by now.
Yeah, I think that, again, because of the fluidity, because of, change in leadership, those things are probably, if you look again years past, that we're probably behind in solidifying that. But, our football schedule, for 2023 will be out soon. We're going to have some meetings in August, and I think, we'll certainly, not promising, but I would think that, if it's not finalized as we get to the end of August, it's really, really close. So it's a work in progress, and I think we're on a good track.
Mac, do you ever see, and I'm just kind of thinking this big picture here with kind of what the Pac-12 is facing, the fact that you guys have a contract coming up in a couple years, and we really don't even know what, 2 years from now even looks like, but do you think grant of rights are going to be as ironclad or as sort of a permanent fixture moving forward as they have been, for the most part, as much as we've known about TV contracts and colleges and all that? Do you think that's going to stay status quo moving forward, or do you think that schools out there and potentially even conferences will want a little bit more flexibility?
Yeah, it's I don't know. I think that, and I'm trying to think of it logically. It may be a little bit different with every conference. And again, talking out loud, I think that, if you're a conference and you're at the high end in terms of revenue distribution per institution, and there's certainly some things out in front of you that lend itself to continued growth. I could see that conference where the grant of rights, is 10 years or more, and really, really difficult to move elsewhere. And I could also see, in some other instances, other conferences where, maybe the grant of rights, is not as long. Maybe it's, shorter period of time, 10 or less. I just think with the change of TV, and the digital space, I just think things are changing at such a rapid pace. I don't know if it's in your best interest to go out and sign a 10 plus year TV deal. And look, I know the ACC is getting some flack right now, but just in their defense, that annual number, per year is a pretty significant number. Now they've got to split it, more ways, and so that makes it difficult. But also in return, they were able to get ESPN to invest, and it's a healthy investment in terms of your own network. And they have security. I mean, they do in terms of their current membership, this security for a while. So there's trade-offs in all of it. But my guess, Craig, and I apologize for the long answer, is that you're going to see shorter years, shorter commitment than what you've had in the past.
Mac, I don't know where you are as for conference when it looks to adding. Obviously, there are discussions, and as you said, open for business. Brett Yormark said that, and you repeated that last week. Is there a timeline of when you think the conference must know about any additions, or is that kind of an open window?
Yeah, I think it's an open window. I do. I think, without, divulging, secrets and there's so many, moving pieces and moving pieces within each conference, and there's just such great fluidity to all of it. And timing is just it's just hard to predict. And, it could be really soon, or, look, could settle and we all get comfortable again and nothing happens, and a year or two later something changes. And so it's we all, right now I think we're all expert accountants and trying to figure out revenues and all of those things and how we can add value to each of the conferences. But again, couple things, I guess, just reiterating, I think the Big 12 is in a really, really good place right now. And, also, and I've said it before, but my goodness, just grateful to former Commissioner Bowlesby, adding those 4 teams, how quickly we did it. And those were truly the right 4 teams to add. And that's why we're sitting in a pretty good position today.
Is the Big 12 still the hunter right now?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. I strongly believe that, right? And again, we've talked about it. You either act or get acted upon. And I think we're in the right seat right now.
Mack, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it. We'll see you soon.
All right, gentlemen. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Mack Rhoades, Baylor's Director of Athletics, with us, sick on 365 Radio, 365 Sports. I was going to ask